We've got, let's see, Bronson from Co-op and Antoine from Square Enix Montreal. Come on out, guys. You guys are responsible. We're the ones to blame you for Lara Croft GO, which is coming.
There we go. Bring it in. Bring it in.
Oh man, I'm so short.
Let's get cozy over. We've got weird, funky chairs here. So you guys are from Square Enix Montreal and Co-op, respectively.
That's true.
Square Enix Montreal, obviously, is Square Enix's Montreal division, responsible for such lovely things like, you know, Tomb Raider Go and Hitman Go and all that.
Exactly.
And then Co-op is an indie studio.
That's right.
And somehow you're involved in the production of Lara Croft GO.
Yep.
How'd that happen? What's going on here?
I mean, I think you should start with that. Right?
Okay, I'll start the beginning of the story. So basically, we decided to port Lara Croft GO to PS4 and PS Vita for PSX. And also, it happens to be the 20th anniversary of the Tomb Raider franchise, right? So we thought we would make something special. And we were wondering what could we do to make it cool. We kind of scratched our head a little bit because we wanted to make something that celebrated the franchise. But Lara Croft GO is already our love letter, you know, to the brand. I mean, it's really inspired by the very first Tomb Raider from, 20 years ago.
Sure.
So we thought, how can we make that cool? And then we decided to bring fresh, new creative minds by asking those guys. Basically, I had seen Nog at PAX, and I just love it. You know, it looks really, really cool. And more than that, it's a puzzle game that, you can see the attention to detail, right? It's like it's not a massive thing. It's like something small but beautifully executed, like a lot of attention to detail, and it felt a lot like our approach with Lara Croft GO. So just, we got a beer, we discussed our vision of how to make games really aligned, so we thought maybe they should take over.
Yeah, and actually, I thought it was super interesting at first because it was like crazy how much our studios really aligned. Like the only difference it felt between Co-op and Square Enix Montreal was like the scale at which the studios were. So yeah, it kind of felt like such a natural thing where we just sort of fit right in with their vision of how to run the studio and like how to make games and all that.
It's neat because like I've played Nog and it has this very kind of almost like pop-up book, like tactile feel to it. And then obviously Lara Croft GO is very much like, it's very board game-ish, it's got a
physicality.
Yeah, it feels like little toys. And I think there's, obviously aesthetically very similar, kind of, flat and colorful. How did you approach it? It's Lara Croft. Was that daunting? Was it?
I guess a little bit, yeah. But because we wanted to do something that aligned with the 20th anniversary of Tomb Raider, we had kind of like a jumping off point. So we kind of thought about like, what do we all remember from the original Tomb Raider? Because no one had played it in a very long time. And we all kind of like gravitated towards the manor as like the central theme. And then from there, we just sort of, used our creative juices and like worked outwards to...
You made a video game.
Yeah, exactly, pretty much.
I do like how the manor has sort of almost become a character on its own in the last few years.
Yeah.
I think that people had a lot of fond memories of the old Tomb Raider games and thinking about walking around that manor for the first time. And now it's been revisited in VR. You can now play it here. Like it's really cool how that's become part of it. Now, these games coming to PlayStation is awesome for me, although I did 100% it on mobile games. There's this weird stigma from hardcore gamers about how mobile games are like bad and casual and gross. Like people talk a lot of smack about them. I don't mind playing them though because it's like I can't bring my PS4 on a train. If I did, I'd look weird.
And you'd get mugged.
Yeah, I would get mugged. And I deserve it. But do you get this sort of notion from gamers that like they're not paying attention to stuff like this until it's on a platform like a console?
That's a good question. I think there's definitely a stigma, right? But I think it's by putting games like this out there that, slowly maybe we can overcome that stigma and people understand that, in the end, a good game is a good game.
Yeah.
I think for us, it's awesome to be working on mobile because it allows us to be very, very focused in our approach. Like, you know the scope of your game is going to be smaller, so instead of having 10 different systems working together to create a gameplay, we're able to come up with stuff like this, like super focused, right? Puzzle, and then we push the art direction, we make the puzzle as tight as we can, and it gives a leaner experience that for me really resonates. Like this is the kind of game I like, something simple, well executed, that's what we're aiming for.
Lara Croft GO is a game I 100%ed, and it's got this great sort of almost Nintendo type of approach to it where you can play through the levels and that's fine and good, and if you get through them, awesome, you're great at games. But there's also like collectibles. There's also ways to sort of go back and add replay value. So is that something you guys are looking forward to or looking towards in the way you continue to expand this game? Is sort of scaling it for both casual players and people who want to play every bit of it?
Yeah, I think. I don't know if you played Hitman Go, our previous game.
I did.
We had this thing where basically you could complete an objective in 3 different ways. Like you could do the minimum amount of moves, or kill nobody, or kill everybody, or depending on the level. And when we started to develop Lara Croft Go, we had the same kind of like 3-tiered objective at the beginning. But we realized it didn't really feel like a Tomb Raider game, right? We felt like the whole different approach to get your kill down, that was really like a Hitman thing. And for us, it was really, really, really important that we don't do a copycat of Hitman Go, but we really try to understand what Tomb Raider is about. And then that's where we started to think about collectibles and little things hidden in the environment. And we added this kind of secondary layer of gameplay with those little vases that are hidden in the environment. And for me, it's really cool because it's, at the same time, it's very Tomb Raider, right? Looking for artifacts in the scene. But also it's like a hidden object game, the simplest kind of game. But since it's on a secondary layer, it really complements you're thinking, you're in the middle of your puzzle trying to solve it, and it's like, oh, here is a vase, and it just feels good to just get this little nuggets here and there.
So those puzzles were all touch-based on mobile devices. How's that going to work on PS4?
Well, we worked a lot on that.
Oh, I stumped you guys, didn't I?
No, I think I'm happy with the result. It just took us a long time to get there, right?
For sure, yeah. So what we have is basically like using the right analog stick, you kind of have a cursor that you can use to find those objects. But we worked really, really hard to make it feel kind of like you were saying, the same way that it felt on mobile, where it's like you see that vase and you're like, oh, there it is, and then you just like tap it. So you kind of just sort of like give a little jerk on the cursor, and then like it actually will snap to that vase, and then. I think we kind of captured the feel as much as we could.
Now I was going to ask, you're also on Vita. Thank you. That's always nice. I'm a Vita owner myself, and I encourage others to be. Not enough of them are. But do you have kind of a hybrid of the touchscreen and the physical controls?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, they both work. Yeah.
Yeah, you can just switch. Like if you start to play touch, it works well. If you start to use the joystick, it also works.
Cool. Now I heard a while back, I think Square Enix put out this thing where they're like, hey, we've got a bunch of like older IPs that we're not really doing much with. Indie devs, you got any wacky ideas for what Gex should do? Would it be totally just insane to imagine like an older, maybe, I don't know, like Legacy of Kain Go or something? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, never say never, right? But for us also, we did Hitman Go, Lara Croft Go, and Deus Ex Go. So it's kind of a cycle, trilogy of sorts.
Final Fantasy Go, maybe?
I think it's important for us that we're not only the Go studio, basically, is what I'm trying to say. We want to, create new projects. We have a few things in the pipelines already that I'm super excited about. But, it's the end of a cycle for us, and we're like looking at new horizons right now.
Great. You know what else can fit in a pipeline is a gecko.
Yeah.
Named Gex.
Yep.
Ooh, see what you did there.
Get that gecko in there. Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us. When can people get their hands on Lara Croft Go on Sony platforms?
Right now.
Out in the wild. Yeah. All right, so go check it out.